Keep yourself in the loop of everything football. Listen to Alex and Jeremiah on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Hello there, I'm Jeremiah.
I am Alex, always and forever here.
Dedicated to college and NFL football. The latest football news on and off the field. NFL draft trade rumors. We've got you covered from the NFL, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC, and everything else in between. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, where we talk the latest news, rumors, and games of the NFL and college football. From the latest science, this is Breakout Stars and all the news in between. As always, I am Alex.
And I'm Jeremiah.
Hey, man.
What's up?
Happy Monday to you.
Yeah, happy Monday to you,
On
too.
an October 3rd, here we sit.
Our first October show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a good week for me.
This is a good week for me, too.
Why is that?
Because, for one, it has nothing to do with this show, but the baseball players are starting.
Yes,
so
yes.
that's a lot.
I talked you up in the football show.
Yeah, that's a lot of...
I'm sorry, the sports show.
That's a lot of excitement to talk about, especially for the baseball shows heading into this month. And we got a lot to talk about, and a lot of good football happened as well. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much it.
Good.
So how about you?
Baseball. I got to go to the Giants games this weekend.
Did you go to the Giants games
I went
this
to
weekend?
Friday and Saturday.
Oh, okay.
So that was cool. Got to see two wins against Dodgers.
So you saw their win against Kershaw on Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay. Man, you lucky, man.
Yeah, and then a good game. Obviously, good stretch of games yesterday in the NFL. You know, culminated by a Pittsburgh Steelers game that obviously as a Steelers fan I get to watch, and that was a great game to watch. And then my twin brother's birthday is on Thursday, so which entail that means my birthday is.
Yeah, I know.
know. So,
don't worry.
Don't worry.
I know.
Just a good week. Weekend in general. Now on Thursday, we weren't told during the show.
Yeah.
But I want to mention that it was our Wednesday through Friday co-host Anthony's birthday, so we'd like to wish Anthony happy birthday.
Which was something that I forgot to mention on Friday. Anyways, thank you for mentioning that. Like 4 days later.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah,
you're welcome. But speaking of baseball and the Giants and the Dodgers, that goes into one great announcer.
Yeah, one of the best broadcasters of all time, Vince Scully. One of the best voices, for that matter. Mm-hmm. And I was actually watching the Giants and Dodgers game simultaneously with the Raiders and Ravens game, because that's one of the games I was on cable.
Oh, okay,
and,
gotcha.
So I kept switching back and forth, and there was I think during the third or fourth inning, they switched to Vince Scully's call, and man, dude, the way he calls the game, he does it without like a color commentary, because he does both.
Yeah, he does.
That is a rare thing to have. You don't see many, play-by-play or announcers for that matter do it all by themselves. Like it's funny because when he calls a game, he tells a story behind every little call, and I kind of love that. And it's kind of fun to listen to him as well as watch the game at the same time. He kind of makes you want to listen to him a little bit more than the actual game, which is kind of funny. But yeah, he's really good at calling games, man.
Yeah,
he's a GOAT. Greatest of all time.
On MLB.com, they put his call up for people who didn't have it in their area or anything. So I listened to the last two innings with him calling it, and they had a really a really good message at the end. After he did regular sign off, but then afterwards, and it came back, and it was really good. And the guy, I want to say it was 66 years in which he was announcing, which whatever the number is, 66 or 65 or whatever it is, it was 1 year longer than Queen Elizabeth has been queen in England.
Yeah, that is amazing. And I think he called 25 World Series, or he was 25 years old when he called that first call.
Oh, I'd have to look. Yeah.
And he's been there for so long. He was there when the Dodgers were in Brooklyn.
Yeah, he was friends with Jackie Robinson.
Exactly.
So pretty much what was super cool about yesterday is his first exposure to baseball. It was 80 years ago when he was 8 years old, and he was walking past a store in which the New York Giants and the New York Yankees are playing in the World Series, and the Giants are losing like 18-6 or something. And he said, as a kid, he felt so bad for the Giants. From then, he became a diehard Giants fan, and that was October 2nd, 80 years ago. So to the day of his first exposure to baseball and becoming a Giants fan, he closed out his career with the Giants.
That is pretty amazing. And but we're going to keep this football related because Vince Scully did call NFL games as well. And one of his most famous NFL calls was the catch, which was the 49ers and Cowboys when Joe Montana threw it to Dwight Clark
back in the end zone
for the game-winning touchdown to send them to their first Super Bowl, actually, in franchise history. That was the start of that 80s dynasty for the 49ers. And they played it yesterday, I think, during one of the games. And, man, the way he calls NFL games is he does it just as well as baseball. He doesn't do it the same as baseball.
Yeah, when he was doing it, there was 3 guys including him. So, I mean, you don't get as much. I think baseball, too, is such a better storytelling sport.
Yeah, that is true. Because it's such a longer history, and you can, I wouldn't say get away with a lot more, but you can definitely say more, I think, in baseball.
Mm-hmm. And the time to do it.
Yeah, and football, though, it's just a fast sport. It's one of the fastest sports to watch live, and but yeah, man, he's great, and that was the last NFL game he announced. I think the NFC Championship in 1982, I believe, or 1981.
I'd have to go back and look to make sure. But speaking of football, let's move into this weekend's scores. So the first game of the day yesterday was actually an early game, wherever you lived, in relation to normal starts in the Pacific Coast. It was a 6:30 a.m. start, 9:30 a.m. on the East Coast, but that was between the Jaguars and the Colts, and because it was in London, England, one of many recent London games, and then the second or third that Jaguars signed on for.
I think it's the second one.
Yeah, of 4.
I think they were there last year.
Mm-hmm. The Jaguars did win that one and got their first win of the year. Again, they were in all 4 of these games, excluding the Chargers game, so all 3 of the 4. And they did defeat the Colts, held off a strong comeback from the Colts, 21 points there in the fourth quarter. The Jaguars took that one 30-27 in their home away from homes. The Texans defeated the Titans 27-20 at home. The Redskins defeated the Browns 31-20 at home, led by Cody Kessler by the Browns, leading the way there. Nice game, 223 yards, 1 touchdown, but it wasn't enough. The Redskins were led by a strong performance from Jordan Reed, 73 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Matt Jones, 117 yards and a touchdown on the ground.
And the Browns keep browning.
The Seahawks win one on the road at MetLife, where they won their first Super Bowl in the franchise history over the Broncos in 2014. They won 27-17 over the Jets. More turnovers from Ryan Fitzpatrick. A strong performance from Russell Wilson coming off a knee injury. That's why I didn't play him on my fantasy team, but it wasn't a huge drop-off from him and Flacco this week anyway. 309 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jimmy Graham with his first 100-yard receiving game of the year, 113 yards on 6 receptions.
He had one last week, too.
Did he?
Yeah, he did.
All right. Well, he's just coming on strong in general then. So Jimmy Graham, again, another strong week. Quota, star, asterisk.
And Ryan Fitzpatrick, turnovers keep happening. 3 interceptions yesterday, 6 last week, 9 in 2 games. Wow.
It's not how you win games. And currently they're 1-3. 0-2 at home. They got some work to do.
But I still think he's their best chance to win football games, in my opinion.
I do too, yeah. And they stand by him, which is the important thing. All right, moving to a division AFC East matchup. The Patriots threw up a goose egg against the visiting Rex Ryan-led Buffalo Bills. They were led by Tyrod Taylor, 246 yards passing and a touchdown. LaShawn McCoy, of course, had a receiving touchdown and 70 yards on the ground. A strong showing from Martellus Bennett, 109 yards on 5 receptions for the Patriots, who, weirdly enough, was the leading tight end with Gronkowski playing. Gronkowski has really started slow without Tom Brady there. He had 1 reception yesterday for, I think, 17 yards. This is the first time the Patriots were shut out at home since '93.
Which was, I think, Drew Bledsoe was a rookie?
It was, I know it was Parcells' first year.
Yeah.
So I'd have to go back and look exactly who was.
But yeah, that was a long time ago. a long time ago.
Yes,
I wasn't even born.
It depends the month.
Yeah.
I think I was, because I think it was week 11, so I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it was. Moving to the Panthers-Falcons. The Falcons won at home 48-33 behind an enormously good offensive production. 503 yards passing from Matt Ryan, along with 4 touchdown passes, 57 yards rushing from Devontae Freeman, who added a touchdown on the ground, and 203 of Matt Ryan's yards were not to Julio Jones. He was responsible for 300 yards on 12 receptions, had 1 touchdown there late to put him over that, I think, to get him to 300. Insane.
Yeah, and I actually saw the box score of this game, and when I saw that Julio Jones had 300, I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Really?
Shouldn't have let Josh Norman leave.
No. You have no idea how much of that, idea how much that affected this Carolina Panthers defense.
It has so far.
It has affected them so far.
Yeah.
And the Panthers, I think they're in trouble, man.
They got to turn it around.
They have to win literally next week, this coming Sunday, because you can't start 1-4. As a matter of fact, you can't even start 1-3.
And that's where they're sitting at 0-2 on the way.
Yeah, there's not many playoff teams that start the season 1-3.
That's true.
Yeah, but that's a great performance by Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, and they're looking like the best. I think they are the best offense right now in football.
At least they have lately, but again, they've played some weak defenses.
That
too,
is
so keep
true.
That
is true. So that's why I said, far from this quarter part of the season, they look like the best offensive football. But I don't know. We might talk about them on Wednesday in the For Real segment. We don't know.
That's very true. Like I said, the Falcons came out on top. They're 48-33. Cam Newton currently in the concussion. Excuse me. Am I in it? Currently in the concussion protocol. We'll see moving forward if he's not ready to go.
Yeah, and
Derek Anderson gets a start. The Ravens lost a close one at home for their first loss of the year to the Road Warriors so far this year. All 3 of their wins on the road, and that's the Oakland Raiders winning that one 28-27 with the late touchdown pass to one of his 3 to, and again, 3, I'm saying one of his 4 from Derek Carr, but one of his 3 receptions for Mr. Crabtree there. Good game. Joe Flacco, 298 yards passing, 1 touchdown. Terrence West, 113 yards passing, 1 touchdown. Steve Smith, 111 yards and 1 touchdown on 8 receptions. One thing to look at is this offense for the Raiders looks like they can compete with almost anybody.
Yes.
Their defense needs to stop giving up points.
Yes.
This was a better performance. Last week was better. This week they still gave up over 400 yards total offense. So they still have some work to do if they face these teams with, if I'm a Raider fan, which I'm not, but if I was a Raider fan, I would sit there and say, this is all well and good. Our offense is playing well, but if we face a team like the Steelers or the healthy Patriots or the Falcons again,
the Broncos in their division,
who's
and the Chiefs in their
good
division.
defense, plus who's going to have the better offense, are you going to be able to win those games? Because those offenses, they're lights out sometimes. So we'll have to see. The Raiders are playing well on the road right now. They're 3-0 away. They're 3-1 overall. I believe they're in second place right behind the 4-0 Broncos. So,
yeah, and that was the first time they won their first 3 games on the road since 2000.
And what did they do in 2000?
They went to the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think they went deep in that year, too. They lost to the Baltimore Ravens, I think, in that year.
It depends if it was the 2000-2001 season, because if that's the case, that was the Tuck Rule game.
No, it's 2000. They made the year. They made the playoffs that year too. And then the 2001 was the Tuck Rule year. Was the last year they made it to the playoffs. Of course, they got dominated by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the Super Bowl that year. So, yeah. But anyways, I'm loving what I saw from the Raiders offense. And remember, I was high on Derek Carr in this offense. All year practically. I was high on defense a little bit, but man, they still can't stop anybody. They're luckily for them, they have more talent on that side of the ball than most of the worst defenses in the league, like the Saints. They have a lot more talent than that team right now. I just think it's going to take them probably till the end of the year to play with each other. Because remember, all these guys are draft picks, and they're coming from other teams, so it's going to take a while for this whole unit to play together. But they're going to get better every year. They as a team, they have played better every game. Even in that they lost against the Falcons, they played good in that game too. They just happened offensively, yeah. Defensively, they just gave it way too many points and yards that game. But I'm loving what I'm seeing from the Raiders this year. I do think they're legit. They're for real.
Okay.
But
I think their offense is for real.
Their offense is for real. And even if they happen to get into the wild card, I don't see them going far in the playoffs because of that defense.
Yeah.
But I do think they are a playoff team as of right now.
A contender.
A contender. But I think they're about 2 years away from being a Super Bowl contender.
Understandably, as long as that defense gets better, the offense is good. Moving to an NFC North matchup, the Bears got their first win of the year over rival Detroit, and the Lions scoring 17-14 in favor of the Bears. Brian Hoyer, 302 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jordan Howard leading it on the ground, 111 yards, no touchdowns for him. Eddie Royal with 7 receptions, 111 yards, and 1 score, which was a pretty nice catch there on a comeback route right at the edge of the end zone there. Pretty play there. It was impressive. It was a good win for the Bears, who really needed one at home. This is their first win at home, and I think in 8 tries dating back to last year. So, it was nice to see. The Lions, again, looked just up and down. They had good things, they had bad things, but they need to be consistent if they're really going to win the important games.
Yeah, and the Detroit Lions are one of those teams that pretty much plays down to their opponent's level. Because clearly, I think they're the more talented teams than the Chicago Bears.
I do too.
But they just didn't have it yesterday. They just didn't at all. And remember, the Bears are playing without Jay Cutler, their starting quarterback, Jeremy Langford, their starting running back, even though Langford was struggling to begin the year. They just couldn't play. They just couldn't play better than they intended to. They didn't play up to their level that we thought they would.
Yeah, they played down to the Bears level.
Yeah, they did.
Moving to a wacky game, as you mentioned, the Buccaneers prior with the Raiders throwback. The Buccaneers lost again at home, 0-2, currently 1-3 on the year, to the Broncos, 27-7. This game was called with 6 minutes. It delayed with 6 minutes left in the rest of the game, again for weather, just like last week. But the Buccaneers, they lost that one 20-20, 27-7. Interesting here was that Trevor Siemian got hurt. He started the game well, playing well, and he got tackled, and it didn't look significant, but sure enough, he was out of the game. It turns out it's being speculated he has an AC joint sprain, just like Garoppolo did, and he came out. So that being said, in comes first-round pick Paxton Lynch to lead the Broncos offense. He didn't play bad, 170 yards passing. He had a touchdown. He only had 10 incompletions. He was sacked once, but for what was, it was early again, but 5 for 7, 68 yards and 1 touchdown. He outplayed Trevor Siemian. 1 touchdown pass to Emmanuel Sanders, who had a good game, 88 yards on 8 receptions. Demarius Thomas got that first touchdown from Siemian, 6 for 94 in that touchdown. Siemian looked good. Lynch looked really good. And Jameis Winston again played poorly, 179, two turnovers there. Not much of a running game from anybody specifically. 72 yards as a team isn't good, but 28 yards, 25 yards, 19 yards. Not what you want from your offense and your leading receiver to be a tight end with 67 yards receiving. So good day from the defense, bad day for the Buccaneers offense, and intriguing performance from Paxton Lynch.
Yeah, and I remember you texted me when Paxton Lynch came today. You're like, Paxton Lynch is in the game, baby! Exclamation point.
Yeah, I was excited. Because I was excited to talk about it.
Yeah, you were. And something I want to point out. Remember, Trevor Siemian and Jameis Winston were in the same draft.
Yeah.
Jameis Winston was the first quarterback taken. Trevor Siemian was the last quarterback taken.
Yes, sir.
And
technically, Trevor Siemian got the win.
Exactly. He got half the win.
I feel like he got a quarter of the win. I don't know how long he played, but...
And I think he got hurt before the first half.
I know for sure before halftime. Yeah. I just don't know how far he got into the second, if he did.
But I think the Broncos are going to be fine. Whoever is at quarterback right now.
With this defense, yeah. They proved that last year. And that little bit of turnover, but they still proved it. And Siemian, honestly, the way he plays, he's got a good arm, he's accurate, and he minimizes mistakes. I think you have even more upside with Lynch.
Yeah.
Because he has an athletic factor to it as well. He's proven that he can so far limit mistakes, and he's got a rifle arm. He's huge, 6'7". And from the get-go, it's exactly like last year with Peyton. Regardless of what the offense is that Kubiak runs, as soon as Lynch came in, he knew what he was comfortable with, and he put him in the pistol. And he put him in the shotgun, and he knew what he was best comfortable with. And that's just a coach who knows what it takes to win. You know, if you're playing a Madden game with a team you never played with before and you don't know their offense, you're going to, pick plays
Yeah.
You know, pick formation. Oh, let's just let's do comebacks,
You can pick a playbook that you know.
Exactly. So that's a very mundane way of looking at it. But he just he tailored it to what he's good at, and he got him on the perimeter at times. And yeah, Simeon, he went in there with a 16 point lead at that point. As a matter of fact, they ended up winning with 20 points. He threw his first touchdown. All he had to do was just minimize mistakes, and they were good. I mean, they were going to win that game as soon as they got back from that break. So. I was impressed with him, and it's going to be interesting to see if he can play next week, or Simeon's going to start, because, again, Simeon had an AC joint sprain, apparently. We don't know how significant it is, but we'll be interested to see where that goes.
Yeah, and there's another game that we got actually a couple more to talk about, but
we have 3 or 4.
The first place LA Rams. Can you believe that? The first place LA Rams, they went to Arizona and beat the Cardinals 17-13 in their house.
Yeah.
And they're 3-1 and in first place after that abysmal opening game against the 49ers 28-0. We thought, oh man, the Rams were probably the worst team. No, they have not. They've been pretty tough. That defense has really got back on track, and that defense is no joke.
Yeah, the defense is great. They sacked them 3 times, held them to 14 points, like you said, in their house. Carson Palmer, 288 yards passing, a touchdown and a pick, but he's currently in concussion protocol as well. Another NFC powerhouse with the quarterback question. They got 2 scores, they got a field goal, and that's all they needed. They had 2 touchdowns from Case Keenum, who's looking too bad lately.
He's looking like really
He's looking
better.
like a Broncos quarterback, 266, 2 touchdown passes. He was sacked twice. He didn't have a great QBR or anything. He had a lot of 12 incompletions, but he played well. They didn't have a running game really. It's 41 yards from him and Gurley. They had a -6 yard, what I assume was a reverse from Tavon Austin. The Cardinals and the Panthers are both 1-3.
Yeah, 2 of the last year's NFC finalists are 1-3, and I don't know what to say about the Cardinals. This was my Super Bowl favorite in the NFC.
Was. Sorry, man.
That's another L.
I don't know who I picked for Super Bowl favorite.
That was another L that I have to take right now. But there's still time.
Yeah, there's still time.
With Carson Palmer in a concussion protocol, and they're playing the 49ers at Levi Stadium on Thursday, it looks like Drew Stan's going to draw the start in that game.
Drew Stan.
So I'm not saying that the Niners are going to win, but I'm saying this game's a little bit
It's going to be
closer.
a wacky game, yeah.
It's going to be a little bit more closer than we anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, that was going to be the game that got the Cardinals back on track, but it looks like maybe they can possibly start 1-4 in that game. I'm not saying that, the Niners are going to come in there and totally dominate the Arizona Cardinals, because Cardinals still have talent all over their team. But I would get worried a little bit now, because you're on a short week. You're not going to have the starting quarterback that pretty much was one of the best quarterbacks in the league last year, and he hasn't got off to a good start either. So I'll get a little bit worried if I was the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, currently right now, Los Angeles is in a 2-way tie for first place, but they have the tiebreaker in the head-to-head win, 3-1 over Seattle, who won their game we'll get into in a second. And San Francisco and Arizona currently tied 1-3, but I believe San Francisco would have the tiebreaker there. All right, moving on to the last couple games. We'll take our first break. We had the Chargers losing a close one again near the end, giving up back-to-back fumbles on back-to-back possessions, 35-34 in favor of the Saints. Phillip Rivers was leading passer in that game, 321 yards and 2 touchdowns. Dontrell Inman had 120 yards receiving and a touchdown, but again, they lose a close one there late. The Niners, like you said, against the Cowboys, this was your upset of the week, and the Niners had it for a while, but they ended up losing 24-17 on the back of 245 yards and 2 touchdowns from Dak Prescott, 138 yards rushing from Ezekiel Elliott, added a touchdown there on the ground, and still the newer receiving face there in the core of receivers, Jeremy Curley, led the team there with 88 yards and 1 touchdown for the Niners.
Yeah, Jeremy Curley has been impressive as as a 49ers like number one receiver there.
Yeah.
This is a guy that wasn't even on the team like majority of the offseason.
Yeah, he wasn't not much of the preseason at all.
Yeah.
And I mean the Cowboys 3-1, 2-0 on the road. The Niners slipped to 1-3 and 1-1 at home.
And they have the injury-plagued Cardinals coming to their house on Thursday, which I think is going to be kind of a competitive game, like I previously mentioned.
And moving to the final game of the weekend, which, not in a bad way, was not very competitive at times, the Pittsburgh Steelers defeat the Kansas City Chiefs at home. For the Steelers, who are currently now 3-1 and undefeated at home, they won 43-14. At one point, it was 22-0, and then moved to 29-0, and then moved to 36-0. It was a tough game on the back of 300 yards passing even and 5 touchdowns from Ben Roethlisberger, who had as many touchdowns as he did in incompletions with 22 and 27. Le'Veon Bell's return looked just as good as ever, 144 yards on the ground, I believe 170-something total
yards, yeah.
And Sammy Coates looked good, 6 receptions, 79 yards receiving, I believe on the back of his 2 receptions for touchdowns. Antonio had 4 total for about 70 yards, and Jesse James had a touchdown as well, and Darius Hayward-Bay.
Yes.
So you had
the track star.
Yeah, you had a rushing touchdown by D'Angelo Williams. You had Jesse James with a reception, Darius Hayward-Bay with a reception, 2 from Antonio Brown and 1 from Marcus Wheaton. So it was a strong offensive output from a team that we have seen can really play that way.
Yeah, and this is a really good bounce back game for the Steelers after being. Handled.
Yeah, after being handled on their own.
Yeah, against the Eagles last Sunday, 34-3. So this was a really impressive bounce back game from the Steelers. And Le'Veon Bell still looks like Le'Veon Bell. And Jamal Charles actually came back for the Chiefs in this game too. After we thought he wasn't, he did get about 10 snaps in there. Only had like 2 carries. The Chiefs are on a bye week, and the Chiefs get a very important, pivotal AFC West matchup in week 6, I believe, against the Oakland Raiders. And I do think I'm not saying they're going to have Jamal Charles be the workhorse in the game, but he's going to get a lot more playing time. And that's going to be a pivotal matchup in 2 weeks for the Chiefs.
Yeah, I compared it to Charles was hurt, and he was questionable for this game and ended up playing, to Le'Veon, who could have played week 1 but had the extra 3 weeks, obviously, with the suspension. So that's really the difference there. But yeah, we're moving forward. We're going to take our first break, actually. We're going to come back and talk AP poll and some notable college football games. Then we'll take our last break, and then we'll talk the Monday night games. So let's take our first break. We'll come back here in just a jiffy here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, and now we're going to get into some college football. Alex, we got a new AP poll out with a lot of teams moving up, a lot of teams moving down. We got some teams that moved out. So let's get to the AP poll right now. And, of course, number 1 is Alabama. We got Ohio State number 2, and then we got a new number 3. That's Clemson after their impressive win over Louisville on Saturday.
That was a great game.
It was a great game, especially at the end.
Yes,
and
especially
the ending was really good. And Michigan at number 4. We got Washington moving up from 10 to 5 after their dominant win over Stanford on Friday.
You could say dominant, yeah.
Yeah, and I think they might be a team in our For Real segment on Wednesday. They might be in there. They might be. And we got the Houston Cougars still at number 6. You got Louisville moving down after that loss to Clemson to 7. Then we got Texas A&M moving up 1 spot to 8. and as well as Tennessee moving up 2 spots after the win on Saturday against Georgia. And we got the Miami Hurricanes, a.k.a. the U, moving up 4 spots.
Yeah, moving up from 14 to 10.
Yeah.
They had a great week for a lot of these top 10 teams moving
Yeah,
on.
really great. That Tennessee game was also great, too. They won on a Hail Mary.
They did, yeah. They had pretty much Georgia scored with about 10 seconds left. They kick off to Tennessee. They ran back pretty good, pretty far, about 45 yards, plus a personal foul penalty.
Yeah, that
led
killed
to
them. Yeah.
that started as the writing on the wall from there, and then up and down, Hail Mary right there. As Ben described it, Aaron Rodgers-esque. I think he's wanted to slip Aaron Rodgers' name into a show that was clearly a bye week for him.
He clearly did. He clearly did. I would have went with Doug Flutie, but he clearly did.
Nobody has since thrown a Hail Mary like Flutie.
Yeah.
It's because he's so little. All right, moving to some other notable teams that rose or fell in this week's top 25, and that starts with Wisconsin moving from 8 down to 11. Nebraska moved up 15 to 12. We have, of course, Stanford after their loss, just bad loss to Washington, moving down 8 spots from 7 to 15. North Carolina is currently now ranked at 17.
Yes. Another team in the ACC in there, yes.
Mm-hmm. You know that?
Yeah,
Exactly.
they're one of my favorites for I think the Atlantic or Coastal Division. I forgot what division they're in on top of my head.
Who?
North Carolina.
ACC.
Yeah, I know, but what division? They're in the
Coastal.
They're in the Coastal Division.
Coastal, I think.
Okay, yeah, I had them in the favorite in that division, and it looks like the ACC looks like it's having a good year.
It's a strong year, yeah.
It's a strong year for them.
The one and only now, after a loss by San Diego State, Mountain West team representative for the Mountain West Conference, moving up from 24 to 19 is Boise State. Formerly unranked Oklahoma, now 20, along with Colorado and West Virginia, from unranked to 20 for Oklahoma, unranked to 21 for Colorado, unranked to 22 for West Virginia. Big drop again. It's like they're up and down like a yo-yo here for Florida State from 12 to 23. Another Pac-12 team down from 18 to 24 in Utah, and another formerly unranked team now in the top 25, sneaking in there at 25, and that is Virginia Tech, another ACC team, as well as Florida State and the aforementioned North Carolina.
I gotta say, man, how about them Colorado Buffaloes, man?
Yeah.
How about the Colorado Buffaloes? This is one of the worst programs in FBS in recent memory, and they are almost. Are they back? I think they're back.
Well, see, I mean, like
I just said, we might have to be them in our for real segment. We got lots of for real candidates this week, and Oklahoma, they bounced back, and that was an important win for them this year, because I think if they would have lost that game on Saturday, it probably would have been the end. Oh, I wouldn't say the end, but it would have been close to the end of Bob Stoops' coaching career there at Oklahoma.
Yeah, I would have been surprised. All right, let's look at some scores from this week. Excuse me. So obviously we had number 3 taking on number 5 in Louisville and Clemson. Louisville got their first loss of the year. A close, tough loss there. 36-42 in favor of Clemson behind Deshaun Watson's 5 touchdown passes. Don't forget he threw 3 picks and was around in terms of responsible for other turnovers as well. But Lamar Jackson, just doing Lamar Jackson things, continuing to be a Heisman favorite, 162 yards and 2 scores on the ground. This really was the game of the week, and it was an early game as well, too. It wasn't like one of those late night games.
No, it was like
later in the day.
It was that primetime game that they had, yeah.
And it was great. It was a good game. It lived up to everything it was billed. Another top 10 matchup was between Wisconsin and Michigan. Of course, Wisconsin no longer in the top 10, but 14-7 in favor of Michigan. Not as much of a high-scoring game as the game I mentioned before, but it's an impressive win. I don't think this Michigan team can hold up with Ohio State, personally.
Yeah, and they have to play each other later this year, and that's going to be a pivotal game for Washington, Houston, maybe even Louisville still. They're still in the contention as well.
Yeah, I don't think Wilton Speight is a dynamic enough quarterback currently in the way he's been playing this year to really lead Michigan to a win over Ohio State. I think their offense is too good in terms of Michigan's strong suit is their defense. I think Ohio State's offense is too good at times for that defense, and I don't think their offense is good enough to keep up with them.
Yeah, and Michigan's offense has been like run the football and play defense. That's basically a typical Jim Harbaugh team. And I have to agree with you 100% on comparing Michigan and Ohio State. Ohio State is just a more dynamic offense than Michigan has.
to match
And
up
when
with it all.
when these two teams face off later in the year, I expect Ohio State to come out on top because they're just the more dominant.
Yeah,
more
they're just more solid across
And
the board.
that's going to be an important game for teams like
you're saying,
like
yeah.
Washington, Houston, and Louisville. Louisville is still in their contention because remember, Louisville has to play Houston later this year, and that's going to be That's going to be a good,
That should be a good matchup.
Good matchup for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
So Louisville's not still technically out of it yet. They only moved down.
Not.
No, they're still technically not out. So
yeah, I mean, they're still in the top 10. They moved to 7. That's still very much.
They're very much alive. And we don't even know how Washington's going to play out for the rest of the year, even though they're looking like the best team in the Pac-12 right now.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be interesting to see how it shapes up. Okay, so some more scores just before we take our last break to cover. That Tennessee-Georgia score with the Hail Mary, that did end up 34-31, like I was saying, on the strength of the Joshua Dobbs Hail Mary. Florida State lost to North Carolina, who is now ranked, like I said, 37-35. Baylor barely won one against Iowa State, but they stayed ranked at 13, 45-42. We have, moving down to Ole Miss. Ole Miss handled business over Memphis, 48-28. Michigan State lost to Indiana, 21-24. Utah lost to Cal, 23-28. And then, like we said, San Diego State no longer ranked within the top 25, Boise State being the only Mountain West representative there now. They lost to South Alabama, 42-24. Now, they're 3-2, 2-1 South Alabama, so it's not like, I don't know the strength of competition they've been playing, but they had some wins under their belt.
They have a couple impressive wins this year in South Alabama. Remember, they beat Mississippi State to begin the year. That was a huge upset. And they did lose a couple of games to Sun Belt Conference opponents. Mm-hmm. They barely beat Nicholas State 41-40, the team that gave Georgia problems. Nicholas State is probably one of the most impressive FCS programs this year. But yeah, South Alabama, they had a couple impressive wins this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, definitely. Moving on to the Oklahoma game, that now the team is ranked again, 52-46 over TCU, who has just had a up and down year. They've been ranked, they've been unranked, they've lost big games.
Yeah,
so they got some work to do.
This was actually one of my upsets of the week.
There you go. You got one right. Okay.
I got one right, and like I said, this was a very important game for Bob Stoops' coaching career in Oklahoma, and they got back ranked into the top 25. But their playoff hopes I think they're pretty much done at this point, unless something miracle happens.
No, they're done.
Every team in front of them loses, but that's not going to happen.
At any point, if you become unranked after being ranked, I think your chances of the playoffs are done. Texas lost as well. Another ranked team that's no longer ranked. 22 no longer to Oklahoma State. 49-31 in favor of Oklahoma State. That's a tough loss, but Texas had that bad year. And then, like I said, Boise State remaining ranked. They won 21-10 over Utah State.
And Florida beat Vanderbilt 13-6 in a tough competitive matchup.
I figured that one wasn't really worth mentioning, but I'm glad you did.
I did. And I thought it was worth mentioning.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah.
That's why there's two hosts.
It's an SEC matchup, man.
Very
Come
true.
on.
Very true. All right. We have a lot to look forward to in another great week of college football, but of course we won't get into that until more so Wednesday. Until then, we'll keep you updated on all that stuff, but we're going to take our last break. I'm going to lead off with something that is college and football, NFL-wise related before we get to our break. It's just a fun little thing. Johnny Manziel still wants to trademark the rights to the phrase and name Johnny Football, and in fact, an attorney for Manziel filed paperwork hours before Saturday's deadline in which to do so. So he wants to trademark the name Johnny Football. Yeah, whatever, man.
Wow, you were, yeah.
All right,
I totally forgot you're not a big fan of him.
No, I'm not. I'm not a big fan of somebody who has potential and is given every chance to succeed. And who knows, maybe the guy has issues, but he seems to have just thrown him away. So, yeah, sorry, kid. Anyways, we're going to move on. We're going to take our last break. We're going to come back, and we're going to preview the Monday Night Football game between the New York Giants and the Minnesota Vikings, a NFC matchup between former powerhouses and current undefeated Minnesota Vikings. So let's take that break, and we'll be right back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
I want to talk to you today about compression gear. Compression gear is popular with professional and amateur athletes everywhere to prevent injuries and for helping heal injuries. Sleeves has the coolest collection of compression gear around. Sleeves carry sizes for women and men as well as kids. Get compression sleeves in over 200 designs to match your teammates and uniforms. Check out the huge collection of styles and sizes, or order something custom for your team at Sleeves. Get 20% off plus free shipping on purchases of $50 or more when you use the code FOOTBALLPODCAST. Visit Sleeves, that's spelled SLEEFS.com today. That's SLEEFS.com.
All right, we're back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. And thank you, Jeremiah, so much for our wonderful commercial today.
Thank you. Yeah.
Anyways, we'd like to advance on, and we're going to preview the Monday Night Football game between the New York Giants and the Minnesota Vikings. It is a home game, the first of many, I assume, to come of Monday night games for this new amazing U.S. Bank Stadium. It's nice, isn't it?
It looks nice. Yeah. I'm not going to say that it looks nice because I've been there. It just looks nice.
That's what I'm saying. It looks
TV,
nice. Yeah. This is going to be a good game, I imagine. I have the Vikings winning this one.
Do you? Oh, okay. Yeah, you do.
Yeah. Well, Eli is playing good this year, but he has been injury prone, and this is very much a team like teams we've seen in the past, much like the Denver Broncos in a way. The defense is very good. And you don't need excessive production from your quarterback position to win these games. It's going to be a battle apparently of backup running backs. Obviously, Adrian Peterson's out. Rashad Jennings is probably going to be out.
He's out.
Currently questionable.
No, he's out.
He's out. And this is questionable yesterday. So he's out. So it is a battle of backup running backs there. The Giants have quite a bit of quite a bit of defense in general, but of injury problems as well, along with defense. They have Rashad Jennings out, Marshall Newhouse starting tackle out, Eli Apple's doubtful, Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie is questionable, and Darian Thompson is out. That on top of nobody currently on the Vikings injury list other than Adrian Peterson, who is out for the year, so you don't have to list him. Currently, these teams are kind of even in points per game, about 21.3, but the big difference here is points allowed per game, and the Vikings have a staggering 13.3 points per game allowed, along with a total yardage allowed of 282 for them, 333 against them, but only 84 yards on the ground. So this team is doing work on the defensive side of the ball, Jeremiah.
Yes, and we talked about him last week in one of our For Real segments.
Yeah.
And this Vikings defense has just been great. I think they're close to being that Denver Broncos team last year. And all they needed was a serviceable quarterback to not turn the ball over. And that's what Sam Bradford has done so far in his 2 starts for the Vikings. And you had the Vikings winning this game.
Oh, yeah.
I think I'm going to go with the Vikings as well because they are at home. They have the better defense. They have the defense to contain this group of receivers. Odell Beckham, starting Shepard, who looks like he's emerging as the number 2 target there. Even Victor Cruz.
He's having a good year.
Is someone that you should defend. So this is a defense that really matches up well with this group of receivers and this offense in general. And they won't have Rashad Jennings in this game. They're going to start Orleans Darkwa, who I don't even expect him to have a good game. Not because he's not the starter, but no matter who's going to play running back for this team, we're going to have a good game anyway.
Yeah, this team is really tough against running backs.
Yeah.
We saw that against the Packers. We've seen that, all 3 of their first games, And I got to give it to the Vikings. They've played really just solid defense. They've played smart defense. Their offense has been good. Since he's joined the team, Sam Bradford has 19 incompletions in 2 games currently, 457 yards passing and 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. In terms of, I don't think he has a fumble, but no interceptions for sure. And Jeremiah, you said you haven't been there to the stadium, and it looks good though. Well, just in case you're wondering, 1,383 tickets are available from under $116 and above.
But the game is tonight, so that means I have to book a flight from Sacramento
right now.
I have to book it right now.
Yeah, you got to leave.
Are you kicking me out?
No, I'm saying you'd have to leave
Okay.
now.
So I thought you kicking me out?
You're going to go cover the game.
Nah.
Surprise, surprise. Media pass.
Surprise, media pass.
Yeah, but I think this will be a good game. I really do. Currently, ESPN has it at 74.5% in favor of the Minnesota Vikings.
I think that's a little bit much. I'm surprised
Giants, it's not more.
The Giants are okay. They're not that bad. They had some real good games this year.
Well, they're 2-1, but look at their opponents so far. This year.
I'm looking at them.
Do you care to share?
Yeah, they beat the Dallas Cowboys 20-19. They did beat the New Orleans Saints 16-13. They did lose last week to the Washington Redskins. The Washington Redskins did win the division last year.
Yeah, but they're not that same team right now.
Yeah, they're not. But still, I think they have the offense to compete against this Vikings defense. But like I said, this Vikings defense matches up well against this group of receivers. Because when one of the receivers on the Giants, although Beckham Jr. or starting Shepard,
or Victor Cruz,
or if one of them gets going, then it's going to be kind of tough the whole night because they have the ability to spread the ball around.
That's very true. One thing that you can look at for the Giants before we get going here, if Eli Manning has 2 touchdown passes and I think that's either tonight or this season, he will have 300 for his career, along with now this is because pretty much 3 of these have been decided. These are 3 quarterbacks from the 2005 draft and Tom Brady. Big Ben joined the top 10 touchdown club as well as Phillip Rivers, but the one last to do so in the Eli Manning, anti-Eli Manning in a sense, Tom Brady, needs 1,972 passing yards for 60,000 in his career. But tonight, I believe we can see, if not already happened, I don't know how many touchdowns Eli has this year.
He has 4.
Then he has indeed, this is old, having him reach the 300 club. So
yeah, he needs 2 to reach the 300 club tonight. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I have a fact check you that.
But one thing we can look at is currently in his career, in the last 3 seasons since coming into the league, Odell Beckham Jr. has 6 multi-touchdown reception games. So be interesting to see if he can get one of those tonight. I don't think so.
And I have him on fantasy team, so hopefully.
I do too. I have him playing.
I
need him to get like 20
I'm starting Odell Beckham Jr. and starting Shepard because I have one of my receivers on a bye. I only have 4 receivers. And I have to start 3 in my league. I don't have that flex option. But anyways, yeah.
Very fair. Okay. Excuse me. But that's it for us today. Of course, you and I will be back tomorrow to recap this game in all of its glory. You have the Vikings winning, yeah?
I do.
As do I. There we go. I like it. I like the unison here. But until then, we have to get going. As always, you can find us on our website, gsmcpodcast.com, where you can look through all of our network shows, but we do have television. I almost said network television, man.
I was like, what? We're on TV?
We have TV. We have a television show, but that leads me to say that we do have television, film, music. We have all of our sports shows. We have our lifestyle shows. God, I think there's even a cooking show getting ready to go. So,
oh, we got some cooking going on?
Yeah, there's plenty of stuff to watch.
Right.
So if you go to GSMC
stuff
Podcast,
to listen to.
That too. We have YouTube videos. I'll get there in a second.
We have videos?
Well, there are YouTube channels,
okay.
episodes.
I was I don't see a camera in here. Yeah, you can't lie to people like that.
Exactly. You don't see it. So GSMCpodcast.com, you can look at our network of wonderful shows. You can find us on YouTube if you search GSMC_. Well, actually, that's on something else. GSMC Football Podcast. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. The GSMC Football Podcast. iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Then Instagram and Twitter, you can find us at GSMC_sports. That is the underscore, GSMC_sports. You can follow us. You can tweet us. You can do anything you want. You can favorite our tweets. All the wonderful things. You can retweet our shows. Monday through Friday, rain or shine. It's kind of, I think I went to the bathroom earlier. It looks like it's about to rain.
Oh,
so,
okay. Good.
Here we go.
All right. And you got the Twitter page wrong. It's at GSMC_football.
Did I say sports?
You did.
My bad. I recorded a sports show before this.
That's okay.
So GSMC_football for Twitter and Instagram. Instagram, it's pretty great. Twitter, it's cool too. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. If you search GSMC, you'll find all of our shows, but the football show is us. Jeremiah does a baseball show, which is getting going because the playoffs are getting going. We also do sports here. We also do soccer. At least one of us is responsible for all of those things. And Jeremiah does the fantasy football show now as well. You can find us on Facebook, like I said, GSMC Podcast Network, as well as the football show itself. And as always, we'd like to thank you guys for listening. I'm Alex.
I'm Jeremiah.
We'll be back tomorrow to review another wonderful game in week 4 of football. But until then, we will see you later. Have a good one, and thank you for listening.